Hey guys, Mika here, and I'm really excited to bring you a Steve Grimes custom tenor size ukulele. Steve Grimes is a master grade luthier of guitars and ukuleles and resides on the island of Maui, arguably the best island in all of the islands here in Hawaii because that's where I was born and raised from. So he's a Maui boy, and Steve Grimes, he's built just last year in 2020, he celebrated his 1000th ukulele slash guitar that he's ever built in his life. 50 years of building, and that's such a huge milestone. And it just shows that he's been dedicated for 50 years building really, really great sounding and beautiful looking instruments, as you can see from this. Um, and what's really cool too about Steve is that he's also a musician. He's a guitar player. So when you combine musician with luthier, now you, as a luthier, you kind of know the ins and outs as a musician. Like, if I were to play the most ideal guitar or ukulele, I would want, let's say, a low action because my hands hurt after a while if I play for 3 hours. So on all Steve Grimes instruments, his setup or the action or how far the strings are off the frets is very low to the frets. So it's so easy. It's butter like to play all of his instruments. You don't even have to put any pressure to make a bar chord. It's just so easy. It also helps that he puts radius on on most of his instruments too, but his instruments are just set up so nicely. One of the easiest instruments to play of all the ukuleles out there. But again, he's a musician, so he just knows again the ins and outs of what a musician would want, like tonally, what kind of sounds he's want to hear. Like, do I want a warm sounding instrument? Do I want a brighter sounding instrument? I want an easy playing instrument. I want an instrument with this thickness of neck, this thickness of the nut or the fretboard. So it's so nice to have luthier, master grade luthier, that's also a player too. So he can combine his knowledge in both areas, especially in his luthier background. So yeah, Steve Grimes instruments are very sought after. It's very, very popular, and I mean, can you see why? I mean, it's so beautiful. And speaking of this instrument, here we have a tenor size instrument. On the front, back, and sides, we have some of the most beautiful red curly koa um, that I've ever seen, and probably that you'll ever see. In all of the years that I've been sound sampling instruments, I don't think I maybe two or three other times that I can think of where I've held a koa instrument that had this dark of a red color with curly koa, and that's because it's pretty rare to find this kind of rare or this red kind of color with curly koa. Usually, curly koa is predominantly orange. It can be maybe lighter dark brown. Sometimes it can have like a caramel, like a light golden kind of color, but it's very rare that you'll come across like a redder looking kind of curly koa, and especially one that has this kind of dark red hue to it, but then it has this kind of the grain pattern is like absolutely, it's really beautiful. And another thing that I like about this instrument, that it's nicely aesthetically paired with the more common color of a curly coal that you would find on an instrument, the more orange kind of gold color here on the sides with the binding, so nicely done. And another one of the unique things about Steve Grimes instruments too is that he's one of the few luthiers off the top of my head that he likes to use purple purfling on his instrument. So we have purple purfling here around the outside of the instrument, here also on the back of the instrument around the body. And then we also have the purple purfling here around the headstock right here, along with the ebony faceplate, ebony bridge, and then ebony fretboard and ebony bridge. And then even here, if you guys can see that we have a purple purfling around this curly coil saddle, or this is the saddle, but this little area right here where you tie the strings to the bridge. Very, very beautiful. We have a side port, a little tiny side port here, also with the curly coil around the binding. And then one actually unique thing about Steve Grimes' ukuleles too is that I believe that he's the only ukulele luthier to put the fret dots only on the 5th and the 12th fret. Usually it's very common to find on the ukulele you'll have the fret dots on frets 5, 7, 10, 12, and sometimes even on 15. But off the top of my head, he's the only one that puts it on the 5th, and the 12th fret. But don't worry, he puts all of the rest of the dots here on the side so that you can see where you're playing. So not to worry. We got the mahogany neck on the back, gloss mahogany neck, and then we have black and gold goto tuners. As always, some of my favorite tuners. So this ukulele is very elegant, very classy. I like to say that a lot about instruments that aren't too busy looking. Really, the only busy thing about this instrument is the curly coil, but that just speaks for itself. That's just Mother Nature doing its thing, making it look so nice, so aesthetically pleasing to look at. But you know, like with every Grimes instrument, not only is it beautiful, it sounds beautiful too. And what I really like about Grimes instruments is that Steve Grimes, to my ear, he likes to build his instruments more towards the warmer side of the spectrum, which is really good for people, let's say, like me, that play with fingernails. Because when you play with fingernails, you're gonna get you're gonna get a brighter kind of tone out of your playing. So it really helps to balance out the overall sound that you get from your ukulele. So if you have an instrument that's really warm, and then let's say you play with your fingernails, or maybe you'll play really hard on your nails, the warmth of the instrument will balance out your overall playing sound that you get. So, like if I strum with my nails, it's nicely balanced because the instrument's warm, but then you get the brightness of the nails. For people who play just with like their flesh or the skin of the fingers, like this, you'll notice that's going to be really warm now, so it'll be really easy on your ears. Sounds really nice. And even if it's really warm, you still get the clarity of hearing every single note on every single string. So what do I mean by that? So if I were to bar like the 5th fret, you can still hear every note cleanly, even if I use the flesh of my fingers. It's not muddy, it's not, you know, you can hear every single note. Now when I use my nail, you get a more balanced sound now. It's just super, super clean. If I play here on the 12th fret, it has that ping-like sound that I always look for a quality ukulele. And even the sustain. It's one of those ukuleles, like if you had a chart, it's like you play it, it's like it takes forever to start falling off the cliff. Like whether maybe some cheaper ukuleles might just go like that with the sound. You'll play a sound and then it immediately dies off. But you know, when you play higher end ukuleles like this, you have the sound that just lasts for 10-15 seconds, and it's so nice to hear on these kind of instruments. So again, clean on the upper frets. Because I have nails, the overall sound is very balanced. It's a fantastic sounding ukulele, and it's also a fantastic looking ukulele. So here is a sound sample on this beautiful instrument. And because both Steve and I are from Maui, I'm gonna go ahead and pay tribute to this ukulele and play a Hawaiian Maui song. So this song is called Puamana. It's a somewhat famous surf spot on Maui, and if you guys have ever been to the island of Maui and took the Pali Highway and drove along the coastline and made your way up to Lahaina or Kaanapali or Kapalua, Puamana is pretty much like a rocky beach. It's really easy to miss, but it's a famous spot that's right before you enter Lahaina. So here is the Hawaiian song that talks about Puamana.